Check, hello, check, hello, check. Good. Okay, good evening, guys. Good evening, everybody. I know that it's been a while that, you are waiting for this particular session. So, Viraj, when I first told them about this session that we plan to do, okay, obviously a lot of them, when we interact with them, these are the guys, many of them have started their career and they have grown with the organization. And as they grow technically, obviously in this age, one of the big questions that they have is about, okay, they know how to manage code, how to manage their test cases, but how to manage money, how to look at money. Okay, so this is one big question. So when we told them that this is an area where we are going to have a session, they all were very excited. Some of them are joining this session from their desks. So those who are joining from your desk or from your home, we welcome you all in this session. Book Bugs is a initiative by. Can someone? There is an echo that is. Can you reduce the echo so that one can listen to us properly? Okay, so Book Bugs is a initiative that we run, and under this initiative, what we do is we invite experts, we invite avid readers who can educate us, make us aware about the knowledge out there. So these are the guys who are going to open windows for us. And we have our guest today, Viraj Padhye. The smallest introduction that I can give about Viraj is that he is a guy who knows how to do deeper dives. If you look at his career graph, he started, his career into IT infrastructure, and he was heading an organization which has got 7,000 plus employees, and he was heading the entire infra team, okay, system admin team of that organization. So that's the level of depth in which he was managing the skill that he chose for his core competency. He's a passionate music lover. Since early age, he started collecting, music as such. And in Pune, if you have to name a couple of guys who have the largest collection of Hindi film music, or why Hindi, in fact even overall film music, Viraj is one of them. He started collecting it right from the ages of record players, okay, cassette players, and now the digital form. And not only that, he is someone who is more like a musicopedia. Like you have Wikipedia, you go to Wikipedia and ask anything and everything about, any subject. Anything about music, you go back to Viraj, and Viraj will be able to tell you that this is a song from 1957, ABCD movie when person A, person B worked together. And there is a similar movie by these two guys in 1961 when they did, but the music director was different. So that's the level of depth, he achieves when he gets into something. Now today, if this is the introduction that I'm giving you, the question will be that, okay, so here is a guy who is a network expert, who is a system admin expert. Here is a guy who is music enthusiast. Then what is the subject that we are going to talk about today? The reason is that this is another subject that he picked up pretty late, and he'll talk a bit about it, I hope, in his career graph. But when he picked it up, the kind of depth that he achieved in the given subject, it's something that we all must appreciate and learn. So today he's here to introduce us to a different world altogether. He's going to open windows for us, and the kind of knowledge that we'll gather today, obviously he is not going to read the book for us, he'll make us read the book soon, but the kind of perspective that he'll bring us, I'm pretty sure it will remain with most of us for the rest of our life. So on that note, Viraj, I welcome you all to Incubxperts, and
Yes. Yeah? Fantastic. Yes. So welcome all of you. And thank you, Chetan, for a wonderful introduction. Though you gave a long introduction about me, I still believe I am a student. That's it. That is my identity. Nothing else. Not an expert, nothing, pure student. And that is how you learn and that is how you learn. Before I start, a couple of things. You can put your mobile phones on silent, so it will not disturb others. And I'm already giving this copy in your library. This is the book on which I'm going to talk today. So I'll hand it over to Pritham at the end of the session, and this will be available in your library, so you can go through it later. So I think on that note, let's start. I am a SEBI registered investment advisor. So first thing that I usually do is I give a disclaimer, and that disclaimer is this presentation is only for academic interest, and any examples which are related to investments which I give in the presentation should not be construed as any kind of an advice. What is the objective of this session? So I am not going to review this book, or I am not going to do any kind of training as such on the contents of the book. But what we are going to do here is, I will give you some background about the book and the topic on which the book is based. So it is just to build the interest so that you will at least go ahead and read the book. That is the whole idea. So very little about the book, and mostly it is about, the topic. When we will see what the topic is. So I'll start with a poll. Let's be interactive, okay, and participate freely. The question is slightly difficult, which I'm going to ask right now, but I hope to take that in the right spirit and participate in this particular thing. That is how we will enjoy the session. So question is, anyone here who has invested in IPO recently in last 1 year and lost money? I can see many faces laughing, smiling here. So I think we have got the answer, right? Now can somebody take a lead initiative and tell me, how did you invest? Why did you invest first?
Paytm.
Why did you invest? What made you invest in that particular investment? You are saying Paytm.
Yeah.
So why did you invest in Paytm first?
So I think because of its big name.
Okay.
And so it was the reason. So because of its big name.
Okay.
But eventually.
Okay, so name is one. Any other reason in this room who can give?
Potential returns.
Potential returns. Okay. Anything else? Any other view on this? Somebody who has already invested, lost money, or even made money for that matter. Lost money because a lot of people lost money recently, so I asked lost money. Even if you have made money, I just want to understand what made you, select that particular instrument and go ahead and invest. What was the rationale behind, investing in that particular company?
The brand, the buzz created.
Okay. Fantastic. Come on, I think you can do better. I mean, if only using these reasons you are investing, doesn't that sound silly? Correct? Profits.
Returns.
Now let's say if I have to put all this together, isn't it emotional investing?
Kind of.
Correct?
Yes.
All these are emotions. It is going to give me profits, the brand is big, the name is big, whatever answers you chose or gave just now, all of these answers, eventually they point us to one thing. The decision was emotional decision. Correct? Now in decision making, if you are doing it emotionally, how it works, and if you do it rationally, how it works, you will see. Emotion is something that happens to you. Friend sitting next to you says, I am investing in this IPO. You are not investing? I made so much of money last time in that IPO, and this IPO also I have invested. You haven't invested so far? So far you had no idea, but now because he is talking about something, you got interest. So that is something which is happening to you. Then you go and watch TV channel, like CNBC or whatever, Z Business, whichever. They also say this is the IPO, And then you here in grey market, it is, the premium is so much. So this is basically how something that happens to you. You are not doing nothing. In newspaper, in other media, friends, family, circle, everywhere, you are just hearing about this particular thing. This is something happening to you. And that is emotional. Whereas rational is something that you do. In most of the examples, if you see when you lost money, I'm damn sure there must be hardly anybody who has done a lot of this and less of this. Correct? So this is because of media, and this is scientific method, this is because of friends, relatives, this is because of research, this is so-called experts, and this is because of your analysis, your own study and analysis. Now if we have to think rationally here, tell me, next time when you want to invest, which is the option that you will choose? थोड़ा जोर से यार.
Rational.
I know you just had some khichdi, chai, right? So energy level should be pretty high. Loudly, what will you select now?
Rational.
You know this guy? कौन है ये? Warren Buffett, right? So any idea why he is? I mean, I'm sure you must be knowing that he is one of the richest person, and for so long he is, in the top 10 list in the entire universe. He is one of the richest person, and consistently he is rich among first 10, more or less, always. Any idea why he became so rich? Pardon? Rationality. Yeah, absolutely. People attribute his success to two factors. The first factor is the acumen that he has to understand businesses and then buy them. So I have used the word businesses. I have not used the word stocks. But he doesn't believe in buying stocks. He believes in buying quality businesses. And the acumen that he has about, selecting the business for buying is fantastic. But, the second attribute is the most important attribute, is compounding. He invested in first share when he was 11 years old. And then he made a statement that I was late. Today his age is 91. So 80 years he is investing. 80 years. And when we talk about long term, most of the times for most of the people the long term is, let's say, 10 minutes. I buy a share right now, have a cup of tea, 10%, 5% growth, select. This is long term for us, most of us. And 80 years is long term for Warren Buffett. Point here, the important point is, see, a lot of people attribute his success to these two factors. But why was he so successful in doing this for 80 years consistently? Because not the IQ that he has, the EQ that he has. He very well knows how to control his emotions, which typically we don't understand. We don't have control, self-control on our emotions, and that is why we don't make money in investments. So, there is one example in this book, Psychology of Money, about Warren Buffett, and there is another guy. So when you go through that particular chapter in this book, you will understand. So now this is a famous quote by Warren Buffett. Investing is not a game where the guy with 160 IQ can beats the guy with 130 IQ. This game is not about IQ alone. The guy with higher IQ cannot beat the guy with lower IQ always. And this is what has happened in investing. Now, let's take one classic example to prove this. A guy with very high IQ, which we all know of, is Sir Isaac Newton. Right? His IQ is, I think, 190, 195. And Warren Buffett's IQ is 150, 155. That is what people reckon. So, whose IQ is more? Newton or Warren Buffett?
Newton.
Newton. Now let's see what Newton did with his investments. And this story is around 1720. This is the story of 1720, way back then. So there was a company called as South Seas, which was listed in UK. It's a UK-based company, South Sea. And this is the price chart of that company. So price rose like this, and it fell like this. And Newton invested here in this stock. He actually doubled his money in some time. So here he decided to quit and book the profit. But the stock was going up and his friends were getting rich during that time. So problem with all of us is what we are expecting. I'm going to get 10% hike this year. And instead of 10%, I actually get 12% hike. So I actually become extremely happy. I was expecting 10, I got 12, so I am damn happy. The moment I get to know, बाजू वाले का 15 है, entire trouble start there. So far we were happy because it was above our expectation. But now what has happened? मेरे को 12 नहीं 8 मिली का चलेगा, लेकिन उसको 6 चाहिए. Same emotions. You can see here, his friends were getting rich here. So now even Newton started thinking emotionally. If they are making money, I am not making money. There is a concept of fear of missing out, that FOMO. This started playing on Newton. So then he entered here again at this level. And when he entered here, this is what we all know in history. He had to sell it here, and then he made a beautiful statement that I can calculate the movement of stars, but not the madness of men. This is what he said. And he never entered in stock market ever. Actually they say, if you are around him that time, South Sea words were prohibited. If you are discussing something with Newton, he said, "ये South Sea नहीं आना चाहिए तुझे, तो छोड़ के बताओ everything else." Now, a guy with IQ of 190, if he was not so successful, and a guy like Warren Buffett, who is like 150, 155 IQ, he is so successful, then what do you think is more important, EQ or IQ? EQ. Now, if you want to improve your EQ so that you become a better investor like Warren Buffett, then what you should do is you should understand what the problem is. And that is something to do with a concept called behavioral finance. Now, what is behavioral finance? It is a study of the efforts of psychology on investors and financial markets. It focuses on explaining why investors often appear to lack self-control. Why do you lose that self-control? And act against their own best interest and make decisions based on personal biases instead of facts. This study is called as, this topic is called as behavioral finance. And the book which we are talking about today, which is Psychology of Money, this book is on this topic, behavioral finance. I'll talk more about the book later. But let's first identify the problems which we have. Those problems are called as biases and heuristics. We'll see what is a bias, and we'll also see what is a heuristic. So bias is a strong feeling in favor of or against one group of people or one side in an argument. Last thing is more important, often not based on a fair judgment. This is a bias. So I strongly feel that this particular Kothod is best estimation. This is my strong feeling. Now, it could be true or could not be true, but this is my feeling because I am biased. So that is called as a bias. Now, what is a heuristic? Technical definition is long, but heuristic is a shortcut. Your brain uses that shortcut. So instead of going through this, what we will do is, I will give an example of heuristics. So there is a riddle now. Okay? You have to answer. Participant. A bat and ball together cost $1.1. And this is one of the exercise which is in this book. This book is also on behavior finance. The book is Thinking Fast and Slow. Now this is by Daniel Kahneman. He is a Nobel Prize winner in economics. I could have done a session on this because both of them, the books are from same domain, behavior finance. But this is slightly technical, and thick also. This book is simple, thin, so most likely people will read it. So the bat costs $1 more than a ball. How much does the ball cost? If you know the answer, keep quiet. Those who don't know and trying to guess or trying to make an attempt, please do that. Yeah, answers please. 1.1 bat and ball together. One is costing $1 more. So what is the cost of the other? We'll see. Yeah. Any other views? Any other views? सोच नहीं पा रहे हो कि आंसर पता है इसलिए दे नहीं रहे हो, या गलत हो गया तो सबके सामने गलत हो जाऊंगा ये डर है.
10 cents.
10 cents. Okay, I'll read the question again. Okay. The bat and ball together cost this much, $1.1. Now the bat costs $1 more than the ball. What is the cost of the ball? 10 cents, you said? Okay. He's saying 5 cents. Anybody else? Anybody else? 10? Who says 10 in this group? So what are others doing then? 2 people saying 10, 1 people saying 5. Others either don't understand English, or don't understand what I am saying, or don't understand mathematics, don't want to answer. 5? Okay. Now, 50% of students from Harvard and MIT and Princeton universities, they got it wrong. Why? Because the thinking was intuitive. The correct answer is 10 cents, 0.1. I can do the mathematics here, but verbally also I can explain quickly instead of using this. Do A, then that is A plus 1. So A in bracket A plus 1 is equal to 1.1. 2A plus 1 is equal to 1.1. 2A is equal to 1. A is equal to 1 divided by 10 cents. Correct? Correct? Shall I do it here? So A and B is 1.1. Correct? Now B is what? A plus 1. So 2A plus 1 is equal to 1.1. 2A is equal to 1.1 minus 1 is equal to 0.1. And then A is this divided by 2 is equal to 0.05. This is simple mathematics which we all have learned. Correct? But what happens is, this process is slightly lengthy and our brain takes a shortcut. 1.1 में से 1 निकाल दो तो 0.1 बचता है, 10 cents. But it's not like we all cannot answer this. This is a simple mathematics which we have learned in school. We should be able to answer this pretty easily if we do it this way. But what we do is, we use shortcuts. We use shortcuts. And those shortcuts are called as heuristics. So this is the correct answer. Now, examples of biases. A lot of biases. Anchoring bias, the disposition effect, mental accounting, herd behavior, overconfidence bias, hindsight bias, confirmation bias, recency bias, loss aversion, sunk cost fallacy, gambler's fallacy, paradox of choice, self-attribution bias, narrative fallacy, representative bias, framing bias, experimental bias, and endowment bias. These are examples I am giving. There would be more. तो इतने सारे biases हमारे में हैं लेकिन हमको शायद पता नहीं. Right? So what I am going to do is I will take few examples out of the entire list, and we'll see how these biases work. So later on, maybe you can study remaining biases. So in interest of time, I am taking few samples which we can go through right now, and we'll also see what is the impact of these biases on our investments, which is more important. So first is availability bias. Okay, so availability bias क्या है? Whatever information is made available to me, I start thinking that the entire universe of that particular topic is what that information is. So if this is what I know of, and this is the entire universe, I start thinking that entire universe is like this. So if I meet, let's say, 5 people in this room who are brilliant, then I start saying the entire company is brilliant, which may or may not be the case. Correct? Now, I am someone who want to exploit this bias that you have. So what I will do is, I will make only that piece of information available which you will use and create an impression about something. Because you don't know this particular thing. This is what I am showing to you. And this is how I am exploiting you. So, in newspaper I can write something positive about the IPO. On TV I can put same thing. Through other channels also I can do same thing. Now what you start thinking is, if everywhere it is this, probably the entire universe is, and this is the truth. This is what you start thinking, the way you start thinking. So, the availability bias describes our tendency to use information that comes to mind quickly and easily when making decisions about the future. If you look at this is everywhere now, in newspapers, TV channels, everywhere you see all such news. What is the impression that you will have now looking at this? The first impression obviously will be the crime rate is increasing. Is it not? Correct? If somebody is bombarding you with all this information every now and then the kind of impression you start, because you come to office, somewhere in the middle you see some mishap happening, some accidents, some other crime happening. You read newspaper in the morning, there is a lot of about crime. Later on in the evening you see news, there is crime. So if it is bombarded too much every time on you, you start thinking this is how the world is now. Crime rate has gone so high. This is the fact. From 95 till 2013, if you see the crime rate, homicide rate, this is dropped. This is actual data. So we made an impression that the crime rate is going up because we looked at only what was made available to us. We did not actually look at the facts. This is how we make our impressions. So lesson for investor. Don't take any decision on buying any product or selling any product, based on the recent hype in the media about that particular investment. You do your own fair study and assess the product or investment and then decide to, invest in it or probably sell it. I hope I am making sense.
Yes.
Yeah? Disposition effect. Now we will take a scenario here. Now this exercise was conducted by Daniel Kahneman with a lot of participants, and based on these experiments he has written this book. So I am taking the same experiment here. I don't know what the outcome will be from this particular group, but I'll share what outcome he had. and what kind of conclusion he derived from it. Okay, so now this is the scenario. Let's say I have $1,000 to give to you, but there are two choices which you have to make. The first choice is I will toss a coin. If it is head, you win $1,000. I will give you $1,000. This is only example, by the way. And tail, you win $0. Okay? If you don't want to play this toss a coin game, then I will give you another option, which is option B. $500 I will give you confirm, sure shot. Now who wants A? Raise their hands. So B वाले क्यों करें? अच्छा, who wants B? Raise their hands. Okay. Second experiment. Scenario 2. Now I have $2,000. Huh? Pocket size बढ़ गया. Same option I will give you. I will toss a coin. Now head you lose $1,000 and tail you lose $0. Option number 1. Option number 2. You lose $500 confirmed. Now select your option. A. How many of you will go for A? You will not go for B also? So anybody who will go for B?
No, we will go for A.
A भी नहीं है, B भी नहीं है, C दिख नहीं रहा है मेरे को यहाँ. There is no C. So come on, choose one. A. B नहीं है?
B.
Okay. Few of them are B here. Okay. But majority I think was A. A का why B? And now you will know why. The experiment itself is that so the overwhelming majority of participants chose B, which we did here also. Correct? In first scenario and in second scenario they chose A, which we also did, kind of, right? And majority I am saying. So some of them chose for A instead of B, other one, so that is fine. But what does this study tell us? Number this tells us that people are willing to settle for an acceptable amount of earnings despite they have a reasonable opportunity of getting more. Now in second option, if you see, $2,000 and $500 was the sure shot loss. 1,500 you would have gained. In spite of it being more than 1,000 which was in first example, still you preferred to choose A. Now that is because people are willing to participate in risk-seeking activities where they can reduce their losses. But they don't do same exercise when they want to participate in profits. Risk-taking in profits is pretty low compared to risk-taking to avoid losses. That is what the experiment was all about. So this is the conclusion. In a sense, people value losses more. तो आपको 100 रुपीज का लॉस हो गया और 100 रुपीज का प्रॉफिट हो गया, तो 100 रुपीज प्रॉफिट you will not enjoy so much than the 100 rupees pain which you get through making 100 rupees loss. Amount is equal, so pain and loss, the gain and loss, the pain or the satisfaction or happiness should be equal ideally, but it is not. It is not. That this particular bias is called as disposition effect. And how does this play on us? People want to save taxes. Yeah. No. So what happens in disposition is we buy some stocks, for example. I'm giving very hypothetical example. Let's say I have a portfolio of 10 stocks. Now in this portfolio, 4 stocks are not doing good and 6 stocks are doing good. What people do is, people sell those stocks which are making profits and keep on holding those 4 stocks which are making losses. Because selling the stock which is making a loss and booking the loss itself is a pain. Now think rationally. In all probabilities, these 4 stocks are making a loss, most likely because they are not quality assets. You know how a farmer works? Farmer, let's say he is farming for rice. So he'll get a crop and he'll get a weed. Weed क्या करता है? Crop को खा जाता है पूरा. Nutrition value जो है soil में, it will suck entire thing. So what farmer will do is he will cut the weed and let the crop grow. What we do is exactly opposite. When you are booking profit and selling those 6 shares out of 10 which are giving profits to you, you are cutting your crop. And those 4 stocks which probably are not so good investment companies, you are holding on to them and they are weeds. And year down the line, now you are not left in a situation where you can sell these stocks and then you say, मेरे को क्या फर्क पड़ता है? I am तो long term investor. अच्छा कब बेचूंगा मैं? जब मेरा पैसा आएगा, 100 रुपए में इन्वेस्ट किया था, जब मेरा 100 रुपया वापस मिलेगा ना, investment I believe is for multiplying the money or making profits. 100 का 200, 300 होगा तो उसको investment बोलेंगे. 100 से 50 पे आया and now I am waiting when it will come back to 100 and then I will sell. I don't think this qualifies as an investment, right? Again, in this example, I am not saying those 4 companies obviously would be bad, but I am assuming just for discussion's sake. Point here is, you shouldn't take decisions based on whether the stock is making, or any investment for that matter, is making profit or loss. You should look at the quality of asset. If Sachin Tendulkar doesn't play for 3 matches in a row, he scores very poorly, cheaply, and I am sure you will not, qualify him for the next series. Will you disqualify Tendulkar for next series if he has done pretty poorly in the previous series? Most likely not. Because you go by quality of the asset. You go by the fundamentals of that particular asset. That is how it should be. Your decisions of buying and selling should not be based on price. It should be based on the quality of the asset. It's that simple. And why people sell, I'll tell you. When market starts falling, let's say 100 becomes 90, losses, a lot of people, they sell. You know why? Because they don't know what they have bought. So there is a fear. If you have studied something properly, if you are convinced about your study, about your research, and you know the place where you are invested right now is fantastic, I don't need to worry, price is something which will keep on going up and down every time, so I will not worry about it, my assets are fantastic and I will stick to them, and I am going to get good returns. But to get this conviction, what you need to have is some backing of research and your own study based on facts, not on biases. Am I connecting?
Yes.
Yeah? Great. Third one. By the way, in the introduction, Pritam told about my love about music and movies. I'm a movie buff, music buff. You will see such kind of pictures in most of my presentations. So what is a narrative policy? Most of you are pretty young. I don't think you must have seen the stock market around 2007, 2008ish period. But all the stories were floating at that time about some sectors which I will go through. Before that, let's see what is narrative policy. So narrative policy leads us to see events as stories with logical chains of cause and effect. Stories help us make sense of the world. However, if we are not aware of the narrative policy, it can lead us to believe that we understand the world more than we really do. This is a simple explanation. This is a slightly technical definition, but let's look at the simple definition. Now, around that time, 2007, 2008, the market fell pretty badly, around 40%. This was on 21st of Jan 2008, if I remember it right. I was actively involved in that market that time. So उसके 2-4 साल पहले, the themes which were playing in the market, what were those themes? power, infra. Anybody who invested in Reliance Power in this room? In this Reliance Power? Infra में IRB, DLF, lot of names were there. Telecom. You take the entire spectrum of companies who were operating in around that time, and now we have 3 players. We just left with 3 players. Rest all disappeared. So यहाँ पे क्या था? People were cooking stories. अभी तो सिर्फ पावर है, अल्टरनेट, ये डीजल का प्राइस बढ़ने वाला है, फ्यूल इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज, सो सोलर, विंड एनर्जी, ये वो, so all stories and narratives. So when such thing happens, how people invest is they don't look at company fundamentals. Whether the company is good, bad, whether it is going to generate profits, for me or not. People don't look at that. Power theme चल रहा है, उसमें पैसा डालो. So they look at only the theme. Now can somebody tell me what is the recent theme going on? Lot of my clients ask me, Viraj, EV, and now it is EV. Everybody wants to put money in EV. Even some of my clients they ask me, Viraj, हम लोग EV में कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं क्या? So now let's analyze EV for some time. I don't know how it will play out in the future, but let's analyze logically now. ठीक है, rational thinking करते, देखते इसके ऊपर rational thinking करके क्या होता है. Now I am not buying any stories. Okay, I am not buying such stories which were past stories. Now let's look at EV. It is not, when it pans out later we will come to know what the outcome is. But let's think logically what probably might happen. May not happen also. Okay, simple. It is the hottest sector right now. All of you believe this? हाँ? थोड़ा खिचड़ी दिखना चाहिए किधर तो. दिख नहीं रहा है. Do you think it is hottest sector right now?
Yes.
हाँ, अभी थोड़ा सा खिचड़ी का आवाज है. Now, if it is so hot, do you think lot of players will enter into this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. Now, if lot of players enter, do you think there will be a stiff competition?
Yes.
Yes. So, when competition increases, what happens? The price goes up or price goes down? Down. Now, if price goes down, will the profit go up or profit go down?
Down.
And if profit goes down, share price will go up or share price will go down?
Down.
This is easy. Rational thinking. Now, I am not saying all EV companies will make losses or they won't turn out to be a very good investment. But even if you think rationally, you at least get some basic ideas that okay, it may not be as good as it sounds. इतना तो मालूम पड़ेगा ना थोड़ा ये rational thinking करके. Correct? Out of 100 companies or 1000 companies, maybe few will survive, few will do wonders. But if you are thinking that entire EV thing is going to give you a lot of returns, I have my own doubts. Because I think logically, rationally, I don't go by the noise in the market. Actually, I run away from such noise. If I'm a contrarian investor, what does that mean? If everybody is running this side, I will prefer to run this side. Correct? A lesson from this. Yeah, please.
But then this may not be true always, right? And you need to have certain other questions asked to ourselves, right? Like, what is the industry size?
Correct.
If the EV industry size itself is so huge, there would be such a buzz, there would be such a competition.
Absolutely. So I said, this may or may not be. So, outcome could be 50%, it could be true, 50% it will not be true. My point is, because there is so much of noise in the market, don't get under impression that it is 100% true. There is a possibility of both, 50-50%. And now the question itself, what you asked, is proof of rational thinking. Now he is not looking at noise, now he is looking at what is the industry size. How much business is there in the entire country for now, for Indian companies. Slowly, if you go deep, then you will understand which company is making what, how much competition is there, whether the company is good or not. So, if you do it rationally and find a company in the space which you really think is good and can make decent profits in future, you will go ahead with it. But blindly going ahead with EV as a theme because there is a noise is something which you should avoid, is my point. Am I clear? So I am again not saying don't invest in EV, or I am even not saying to invest in EV. I am saying because there is a lot of noise around us today on EV, don't blindly go with EV. That is a narrative. You have to look at the fundamentals of the company and then decide whether you want to invest or not. And that is precisely what I explained just now. Okay? Self-attribution bias. This is the biggest problem that we have right now. In last 2 years, if you throw a dart at anything, damn sure it is going to hit bullseye. Correct? गधे भी दौड़ रहे हैं और घोड़े भी दौड़ रहे हैं इस रेस में 2 साल से. कोई भी स्टॉक ले लो भाग ही रहा है. This was the thing. So, lot of people who made money in the market for last 2 years, most of them have already started thinking so they are not aware, most of them, some of them could be possibly, most of them are not aware that the profits which they have made are because of luck or because of their skill. They don't know. Possibly some of them have made money because of luck, some of them have made money because of skill, and it could be a combination also of both. But it is important for you to understand skill से पैसा बना है कि luck से पैसा बना है. So in this bias, what happens is, it is a cognitive and information processing bias where investors have tendency to credit their success to own talent and skill. अभी मेरे को कुछ भी पूछ, सब आता है मार्केट का, सब. This is, I have seen people doing this. And if I ask couple of small questions, ये कौन देखता है इन्वेस्टमेंट में? 100 का 150 हो गया हमारा. So please, if you have made decent money in last couple of years, then go back and analyze if it is due to your luck or due to your skill. This is another good book, The Behavior Gap by Carl Richards, in which he explains why people don't. So this is investment return. So market is delivering, but this is what investor gets. Now this return, this gap of return is purely because of your behavior. You are not an investor's behavior. So that is where EQ comes in picture. So with the fair amount of IQ that we all have, average or above average, slightly above average IQ, that is sufficient. You need to have a good EQ, then this automatically will work. But across the globe, this is not an India, no. Across the globe, this gap is always there. If you want to make sure that what market is delivering, if you want to make same kind of returns, you have to be in the market, right? भगवान जब दे रहा है तो हम लोग वहाँ पे चाहिए, बट वो हम लोग वहाँ पे होते नहीं है. क्यों? बिकॉज ऑफ आवर बायसेस, फियर है, ग्रीड है. These are emotions which we carry. If we control our emotions, then probably we will stay in the market. 2020 in March, the market was like, we all know, was 40% down. A lot of investors would have exited by that time. Somebody would have lost patience at 10% fall, 20%, 30%, 40%. And the day Honorable Prime Minister announced lockdown, lot of people would have thought, now to gaya, sab gaya. Because if there is a lockdown, what will happen? Businesses will shut, so profitability, economy, everything will be in trouble. So in that case, what will happen? My stocks will go down even further from here. So a lot of people may have sold. And that was the exact day when market took a U-turn. So those investors who were patient, who were actually away from that greed and fear emotion, they said क्या फर्क पड़ता है, मार्केट तो ऊपर नीचे होता ही है, it's a matter of time, anyway it will go up sometime. Sensex started at 100 in 79, it went to around 60,000. तो 100 से 60,000 गया ही है ना, ऊपर ही गया ना, 100 से 60 तक नहीं आया ना. In this journey, it must have seen n number of falls, peaks valleys देखा है बहुत, peak valleys करके ही ऊपर गया है. If you remove emotions, I think you will be able to increase this. So idea is increase your emotional safety. When you do that, there's a research done by Journal of Financial Planning. In that they found individuals who leverage a behavior modified approach. What is behavior modified approach? We are from IT, right? You know operating system installed. We tweak it to our choices and preferences. So God also has given us operating system here, which we have to tweak now so that it becomes behavior modified approach. बहुत सारा information अगर available हो रहा है तो you may have ability bias. So if you know what is ability bias, you stay away from it. Correct? That is how you change your behavior slowly, which I have done for last so many years. I mean, the self control I have. Forget about other areas, but if I talk explicitly about investments, area, whether I make 5 lakh rupees profit or whether I make 5 lakh rupees loss, my emotions are zero. Trust me, zero. There is no fear, there is no greed, nothing. Zero emotions. I don't get carried away by the price movements, or stocks. Never. So in this case, in this approach, they remove the emotion from their investing. Behavior modified approach is removing emotion from their investing. Now they saw 23% higher returns over a period of 10 years. The CAGR of this will come out to be around, let's say, 1.8% per annum. 2% for mathematics sake. So instead of 10%, which I would otherwise get, I would have got 12% if my emotions were under control. Now let's talk about the book. Any questions so far? Nothing? So this book is by Morgan Housel, and it is one of the best books on behavior finance. Again, as I said, I selected this book because it is slightly thin and the language is pretty simple. So it has around 20 chapters, and the theme is common. The theme is behavior finance, but all chapters, 20 chapters, they are independent. So if you prefer to read 15th chapter first, you can do that. You still understand what he is saying. They are all independent. There are stories, different stories. So that is what he has done. Anecdotes and stories he tells, and he's kept it pretty simple. These are few other books on the same topic. This one is something which I showed you some time back. These are others. I can share the screen with them again, and if you want, in case. I think I'm done. This is about me. This is my name, my numbers, and this is my email ID. That's it. So happy investing, and remember this: best of work will bring best of luck. So trust in your work. Luck will do his part. Your part you should do. That is put efforts, right? And with that, I open this forum for questions.
Just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
we talked about people who think rationally, people who think emotionally. Do you know what is the percentage of team members who really invest emotionally and who invest?
I think emotional number would be pretty high because when I entered this, I don't have that data actually. But I can give an example. When I entered this market long back, people used to say that 98% people lose money in stock market and only 2% people make money. So we can assume that most of them were emotional, 2% were rational. But otherwise, I don't have any data to, substantiate. This is how we can go about it. But then, when I heard this first time, most of the people, they say, if 98% people make losses in the market, why should I go there? I thought exactly otherwise, because I told you, I'm a contrarian guy. If 98% people are going to bring their money and give it to 2% people, I should be in that 2%. Correct? Now, what does it take me to be in that 2% is something which I need to find out. And that is what I did. That's it. Simple. Yeah, please.
So that is my question. I don't think that is the scope of education. But you were saying analyze this, rational thinking. So what we need to analyze, think that there is this topic, and how do we go about it? I know this is not the scope of this area. That could be a diversity. But what do we kind of, how do we go about it? Like to understand what we need to know.
So, as you rightly said, it may not be in the scope of this session. The answer would be too long. I'll try to give a short answer. You go by facts. So what we saw in the slide where we compared emotional and rational was in rational it is data driven basically, correct? So if you go by data instead of imagining something, then you will get better results. So data could be like, I mean, you have to learn this topic. But there are n number of things which we see in the company. There's too many things. So we go with, we look at the date on the book of the company, the historical numbers in terms of sales growth, earnings growth, profits growth, n number of parameters we see, the quality of management, what kind of business they are into, what are the prospects for that business, n number of things. I mean, when we do research, we spend good quality time understanding the business.